It's time to begin.
Again.
Welcome back, everybody. We appreciate you joining in for another episode. This review is months too late for it to mean anything, but we're here, and we really wanted to talk some movie stuff because it's been way too long since we talked anything about movies. J-Mac's got to get his due going. So we're going to jump in and review the Fall Guy film, which we both just barely finally got around to seeing like a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our first movie review in like 6 months. I forgot how to do it. So
I had to ask you for the whole criteria list. Yeah. It's been way too long.
yeah, but real quick, spoiler-free section here. Generally, what's your thoughts on the movie? Let's preface this discussion by saying J-Mac no more than 3 weeks ago told me he hates Ryan Gosling with a fiery passion.
Yes.
Just worst actor he's ever seen in his life. And we were like, what's the deal with that? He's only seen the Barbie movie.
Yeah.
That's the only Ryan Gosling movie you've ever seen. So walk us through the Ryan Gosling of it all, along with your general thoughts.
So what's crazy is I couldn't even tell you a movie that he was in other than Barbie.
Yeah.
Like, you're the one that let me know he's in La La Land, which I didn't know. And besides Fall Guy, I still couldn't tell you a single film.
Remember the Titans, Blade Runner.
Nope.
There you go.
Yeah, so I don't know much about Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
So Barbie movie, I just couldn't stand the guy. As you said, worst actor I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Then we watched this, and I can gladly say that I no longer think that.
Okay.
And I think the opposite now. I understand the hype behind Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Great actor. He's funny.
Yeah.
He did very, very well in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know what I expected the movie to be. I didn't even hear much about it, even when after it came out. So to find out it's a movie about the stunt guy, pretty cool idea. Not one that I know of has been done or anything like that. So I think they did really good with that whole idea. Emily Blunt is the other character. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Emily Blunt also killed her part. I don't really have much other than spoiler section, but
no, I'll jump in there. I agree. I was pretty hesitant when it came to the movie because I was and not because I've been a Ryan Gosling fan and I also really like Emily Blunt, so I was sure, I'll enjoy it, but really didn't have high hopes. It looked like one of those summer blockbusters that I would kind of go see and it would just be pretty mid.
Yeah. And
I'd be like, okay, cool.
Right.
I will say I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, which is cool. But definitely still a little bit of that feeling of will this be a movie in 30 years that I tell my kids about? No. Not even a little bit. And I say that as the biggest movie slut discusser. I will tell you to watch I will tell you to watch a 4-hour movie for a 30-second clip that I feel makes it all worth it. And I say that all just to say that this movie is that level of unmemorable to me.
Yeah.
And not to say that it's a bad movie.
Right.
It's just so standard that it's not going to make any kind of list for me.
I'm not going to put this film on, but if someone gathering and everybody's oh, let's watch this, I'm not going to tell them no.
Yeah.
But you're not catching me turning this on by myself. My free will.
For sure.
It's a one and done movie for me.
Yeah, I agree with that there. Let's wrap up the spoiler free there. If you haven't seen this movie, you might as well listen to the spoilers because it's been out for almost 6 months now.
Yeah,
and we just barely finally got around to seeing it.
Yeah.
Also, I don't feel like there's really all that many spoilers, but
Yeah.
We'll talk about the sections here and go through it all. And you've been warned. If there's, if you want to see
Yep.
the movie without hearing about it, then go watch it now.
Yeah.
But let's dive into the plot. And I feel like you kind of prefaced a little bit of that there, talking about it is kind of an interesting angle for a concept of a movie to talk about a stunt guy and kind of that aspect of a film. I feel like I've seen movies about making movies, like movies about actors or movies about directors and that kind of thing. For sure, a cool angle to talk about stunt guys, and definitely I appreciated the press tour that they did along with it, how much attention Ryan Gosling's stunt guys got for the movie, and rightfully so. But I will say, as far as like the plot development, it's fun and engaging, but it was very standard for me, like a very standard action story plot line.
Yeah.
As far as like what goes on and the resolution and kind of like the way we'll talk about characters a little bit, but the way characters fit into the plot, it was all just very, very standard for me. And I felt like it didn't need to be that way. I know the whole concept is like action movie, and that's like the point of the plot is to be like the standard action movie. But I felt like they could have made it original and unique or with a fun twist, and I felt like it didn't really take any of those liberties. So the plot was a 6 for me.
So, for me, I give the plot an 8 because, to me, towards that last half section when you're starting to find out, like, Fall Guy also has another meaning within this movie where, somebody was murdered and they're trying to blame Gosling's character.
Yeah.
So once like that part of the plot started coming in, I thought was cool, and that's when I thought it was like original, because when you're first watching this movie, you're just thinking, okay, stunt guy, like that Fall Guy. Okay, I get his stunt, but you don't get it until the murders and all that, whatever. But I do agree, like that first half of the movie, standard. It all felt like something I've previously watched, or at least like bits and pieces pulled from other movies that I've seen in the past. But I think towards the end is why I gave it such a high score, just because I felt like, okay, like this is pretty dope. Like,
right. Yeah, I do like that double meaning that they kind of go into a little bit and explore for sure. For me, I think that it's just at like every point when there was a development in the storyline, it was very predictable how it was going to go.
That's fair.
And that's all it was for me, because like you're saying, it is kind of its own thing, and it's like if you were to ask me to describe another movie that has the same plot, I wouldn't do it, but like I wouldn't be able to do it because it is its own thing.
Yeah.
But I would be like, it was the fact that I was watching it, and every time something was introduced, I was like, okay, here's how this is going to go, and then sure enough, it would.
See, your brain just works so much faster than mine throughout the entire thing. I'm like, wow, never would have thought that.
Yeah, I mean, to each their own. Yeah, I guess that's just how I watch movies. But let's go ahead and talk about the writing here, some of the dialogue, and that kind of stuff. This was a category that I was pretty high on. I gave this one an 8. I think there's a lot of self-aware, comedic, well-timed dialogue and comments. I love the references that they're throwing out throughout the movie, and how they're kind of able to be. It kind of takes my gripes with the plot and like acknowledges them, almost like not quite to like a Deadpool extent, but like making fun of like certain action movie tropes by saying like by the things they're saying as they're doing them. Yeah, and I love that. I thought that was really funny. Again, I thought there was some good conversations. I really liked, in particular, when he shows up to the movie set of like his ex-girlfriend, and she like keeps making him do this same stunt over and over again, and everyone's like, okay, no, like that was good, we got it, and she like continues to do it and is like describing this plot while like talking about their relationship. Yeah. The dialogue there I thought was so funny. Like the things that they were saying to each other. And like before I butcher their writing and like talk more about it, I'll just digress there and say that like that conversation in particular I thought was hilarious. A lot of the like dialogue during fight sequences was super super funny, which
Yeah.
I liked. Because in those instances, it was almost like they were making fun of those cheesy moments in action movies where they're like in these major fights and then they say some
Yeah.
like kind of weird catchphrase.
Yeah.
And so I loved that kind of comedic relief. But yeah, I did enjoy the writing a fair amount.
So I ended up giving it a 7. Um, I think for me with the writing, it also depends on how the actor actress does the.
Yeah, delivers the lines.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So like I think that's why I actually did enjoy Ryan Gosling in this movie, because I think the delivery that he gave on these jokes, or like one of my favorite parts was him crying in the truck and Emily Blunt just comes over, it's like, what are you doing? So I think the delivery from these actors and actresses helped the writing for me. I do agree there were some good comedic instances throughout the film. I also love when, like you were saying, they're him and his buddy are just randomly like movie quoting and like, yep,
Yeah.
that's it, and they like dap up and move on with their lives.
Right.
But yeah, I enjoyed the writing. So
Yeah, for sure. And let's move on to visuals here. Kind of going from more plot elements to more what we're seeing. I gave this section a 7 for a couple reasons. So I will say I'm a pretty big cinematography snob. Like that's a big reason that I'm a Christopher Nolan fan. Like movies like Dunkirk, I'm a big fan of, despite the fact that a lot of people don't like Dunkirk as a Christopher Nolan movie, because I am a big fan of the presentation of what's on the screen. And I will say the reason I like this movie is not because of that aspect. Like
Yeah.
the cinematography, it generally is pretty standard. But like it's the way that they move from scene to scene. So when they're showing you like clips that end up being from the movie, it's like these very Dune-esque scenes.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they're, I wouldn't say making fun of Dune, but just like using that as a baseline for the type of movie that they're filming. I loved that. I thought that was super creative and super funny. The stunt work on cameras, obviously on a movie like this, if you're going to be making a movie about stunt guys, you've got to have good camera work when it comes to the stunts.
Yeah.
I think they did pretty good on that. I really enjoyed that as well. There was very few lazy camera shots where it was like distracting, and that's again like kind of me as a like a little bit of a snob when it comes to that kind of thing. Those
Yeah.
are things that like annoy me.
Yeah.
And if you ever watch a movie with me that has bad camera work, I will like stop the movie and point out how annoying it is to me, because there's plenty of them. But yeah, there was never moments like that in this film, which I appreciated. So it was a 7 for me.
So I ended up giving it a 7 too. You're a lot more in. What I've noticed in our podcast, you're just a lot more in depth with both subjects, and it sometimes pisses me off. Anyways, so I gave it a 7 because I don't know the last time I seen like an action movie, and so just seeing the explosions and like these like the driving fight scene, like I thought that was super cool. And so like with the explosion, how he was able to get away, like I don't know, because I don't notice like the camera work as much as you do, but I just see it as like
Yeah.
how I see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
But I thought for it being an action movie, that's what I'm now basing the visuals on, is like these stunts, as you said, like the fight scenes, and I think that they all came together pretty well. Like I said, I think the two best fighting scenes were back at the penthouse where they're using like the fake gun.
Yeah,
and
the
he's,
props and everything.
yeah, and that driving scene, I thought.
Yeah.
everybody that participated in those scenes absolutely killed it. Even towards the end, when they're in this Dune-esque area,
Yeah.
doing the driving away with his. How do you even say that? Because he's the stunt double. So
Driving
the
away with
main
the main
guy,
character.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought it was all cool, very well put together. As you said, I don't think it was sloppy. It was
Yeah.
pretty on point. So
Yeah.
I gave it a 7.
I'm with you. I also think anytime you do make a movie where they're making movies,
Yeah.
it's like challenging to do that in a way that doesn't look like in poor taste, kind of. Like it can be really easy to make it look like not like it's accidental, but just like you're actually filming what's around you.
Yeah.
And I really liked that it felt like you weren't watching a movie about a movie, but it felt like you were in kind of those scenes with them walking around making a movie, which I thought that was fun.
I agree.
Let's go audio now, talking about soundtrack, sound mixings, audio effects, and all of that kind of stuff. This was probably the category that I was the highest on. I gave it an 8, but I really, really loved the soundtrack. I loved the blends of different styles that they brought along, using those standard like action orchestra pieces and that kind of stuff, but also incorporating a lot of like fun throwback pop and rock. And I'll mention here that I've never seen the TV show that this is based off of. Like I didn't even know it was a thing until like I was reading about it before we watched
that's
it.
news to me.
Yeah, but like just kind of I felt like we're callbacks to that kind of era. If
Yeah.
you were a fan of the show, I really liked. I'm still listening to the Youngblood cover of that Kiss song that's on there. Still enjoying that one. And the audio effects, kind of like you were saying, just the cool explosions that you're seeing. For me, I like the audio aspect of that as well. I thought it all sounded crisp. Just it was well mixed, well done. That was like probably my favorite part, I'll say.
What did you rate this one?
8 out of 10.
So I gave this one a 7 as well. For me, when it comes to movie audio and the soundtrack and whatever it may be, it's going to get a good score unless it's noticeably bad. Because me as a consumer, I don't want something to sound off. I want to be immersed into this movie.
Yeah.
So don't take me out by doing something stupid with the audio, right? Or I guess like
Right.
CGI is another one. Like
Yeah.
for me, it's hard to see that. If it's really bad, I'm gonna notice it and be pissed off.
Right.
So for this, like, I think subconsciously with some of the tracks, I was like bopping my head a little bit and like kind of vibing with the music. But this one's hard for me too because I try not to notice it.
Yeah.
So it had to be good because I didn't notice it really. So I ended up giving it a 7.
There you go. There you go.
I did, like you were saying, I did enjoy the different blends of different genres. So
Yeah, for sure. Moving back over to kind of more plot stuff here, talking about the characters. For sure, without a doubt, this was the area that I was the most harsh on. And it was just because like kind of what my gripes with the plot were just mainly centered around the characters. It was all the characters were very predictable for me. It was very easy to see where their arcs were going. They got there in very standard ways. When you're talking about the main protagonist going through kind of his like being in a good place and then the fall from grace, literally for him. And then kind of this resurrection and trying to earn back the respect of his love interest and catch the bad. Like it was all just very standard for me, even down to like the manager lady who's kind of like this two-faced character. Pretty early on in her development, it was pretty easy for me to see like, okay, all of these nice things that she's doing have a selfish motive behind that. Like anyways, all very predictable for me. Lots of stereotypical characters, especially the main antagonist, I'll say. I always mess up his name. Aaron Taylor Johnson. I don't know. It's somehow hyphenated of those three names. Anyways, while he does a good performance, his character was just very stereotypical, like the dumb, like not protagonist, but like the dumb main character, so to speak, that
Yeah.
the protagonist like is in the shadow of.
Yeah.
Super super standard for him, for his type of character, but yeah, lots of predictable arcs, and ended up being a 5 for me.
Wow. So I'm not too far off. I gave it a 6, mainly because when I'm thinking of which characters am I basing this category on, it's those who I feel had enough screen time to at least resonate with me.
Yeah.
Like, I know who you are now, which kind of sucks for the category, but I don't know. I think Gosling's character and whoever the manager lady is, I think those were easily the two best characters. You found it predictable. I found it not. So finding out the manager, I just thought she was the worst. Finding her character out and finding out she's absolutely crazy.
Right.
Being able to switch from just hyped up, super energetic to
Let's cover up a murder.
you should be in an asylum. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
I've already explained why I liked Gosling's performance.
Right.
I feel like Emily Blunt's character was decent. Like, she didn't do nothing wrong. She did the best that she was able to do with her writing portion. Mm-hmm. I just don't think they really gave her much to go off of.
Yeah.
Like, she had a couple comedic lines here and there.
Yeah.
Especially with Ryan, but other than that, she was just kind of there.
Yeah.
That main protagonist, the main character in the movie.
In the movie they're filming.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't really like his character. I thought he was just kind of lame.
Yeah.
And then the last character I can think of is the head of stunt dudes, Ryan Gosling's buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he helped with more comedic aspects, but it was with that many characters that I can remember, and I'm thinking about all of their performances. It's hard to give them a good score when I only think that 2 really did a great job. So,
yeah, I'll actually disagree with you a little bit. I personally felt like Emily Blunt's character was like the most original to me, because, like I said, there's so many stereotypes that they follow, and they do give her a lot of the unfair treatment that love interests tend to get in movies. But I also really liked that they made her character more than that. Like, they gave her kind of this big position of authority in the movie. Like, she's the head honcho of this thing that they're filming. And without her, there is no resolution to Ryan Gosling's predicament, which I really liked. I also thought that, like you're talking about the comedic relief with her, things that I would not expect a love interest to do in a movie, like super funny stuff, knocking on the window when he's crying to Taylor Swift, like not something you like you kind of just expect that as like a drama part of the movie. Super funny comedic relief there. Stabbing him with a pen when he's like hiding in her trailer to like so that he doesn't get arrested. Super super funny. You don't expect her to like that kind of character to just kick butt out of nowhere. So
when did we even watch this movie? Like 2.5 weeks ago, something like that. Okay, so I've forgotten all of those parts that you've reminded me, and I appreciate that because that's hilarious.
Yeah. Some funny moments from her for sure. And kind of continuing on with that to talk about the last category here, overall enjoyment of the movie. For me, it was a 7, which is like pretty, like I enjoyed it. It's good, but it's not great. That's kind of the way I feel about that rating. it was just, it was fun. It was worth the time to sit down and watch it. I did enjoy the experience of watching it, but like I said earlier at the beginning of this, it's for sure not something that's going to be super memorable to me. It's not going to age like this great action movie. But it was fun. It was worth a watch, and I did enjoy it.
Yeah. Mine's right about the same, a little bit higher than a 7. I'd probably put it at a 7. Kind of the same exact reasons. I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not going to put this movie on again, but not because it's bad, just because.
Yeah. You've seen what you need to see from
exactly.
it. Yeah.
There's nothing more I can get from that film.
Right.
But it was cool. Like you said, it definitely worth the watch. I need to stop listening to my brothers. They keep lying to me. He was the same brother that said Long Legs is now his favorite horror movie, which he's an idiot about.
Yeah.
Said that this was one of the best movies he's ever seen.
Wow.
So I'm going to stop listening to him.
That's crazy.
Ever.
I mean, hey, at least it's somebody's favorite movie.
Right.
So
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, ultimately it rated out to a 6.8 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
Pretty fair on how I feel about it. Like, good, not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
What was yours?
Oh, it was like a 7.3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So same ballpark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any final thoughts here on Fall Guy before we wrap this one up?
Ryan Gosling, I'm sorry for the slander.
Yeah, we're gonna
it.
get Jaden some culture. We're gonna show him some good Ryan Gosling.
I'm excited for La La Land.
Yeah,
I've actually been tempted to watch it by myself, but I've left it alone.
Yeah,
so
we're gonna watch it soon.
So.
Maybe we'll make you do like a short form review.
I'm down.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Anyways, I think that wraps up Fall Guy. We'll be back next week. I think we're planning a special episode. It should be fun.
Special episode.
And we'll see you all then.
Cheers.